everybody, welcome to this live. This is all about Ophiuchus season that we're about to move into on the 13th, Monday, the 13th. Um, I'm going to go into a little brief backstory about Ophiuchus because I'm going to guess a lot of people aren't super aware about it. It's the 13th sign of the zodiac. Um, So it kind of gets a bad rep a lot of times. A lot of astrologers don't use it, don't want to acknowledge it. Um, it's it's a lot. There's a lot to it. So it would take a really long time, and eventually I plan to maybe even write a book on it or make a special series because it's a lot. So I'm just going to give a brief overview. But it essentially is the only sign that's ruled by ether, the element ether, which is like spirit. So all the other signs basically come out of or derived from the ether element. Spirit represents like source, heaven for some people, God, that kind of energy. And technically, everything that exists is connected to source. But the Ophiuchus energy slash ether element is essentially like kind of like a portal type energy. It's got a more direct line to spirit, to source. That doesn't make it any better than any of the other signs by any means. It's just kind of like a special responsibility that Ophiuchus people have. It's the ruling planets. It's the special in the sense that it has three ruling planets or bodies. They are Pluto, Chiron, and Black Moon Lilith. So, kind of the theme, since it kind of represents like everything that exists or can exist, because again, it's like source energy. It's very kind of hard to even put into words sometimes, but the other thing about it is that it doesn't have a polarity. It's not yin or yang because it represents source, which is unified, yin and yang. So some colors to associate it with are black and white, like the yin and yang symbol, but also rainbow because it has like the whole spectrum of colors. It can be anything and everything. It's so if like Pisces and Neptune are like camouflaging or mimicking kind of energy, then Ophiuchus is actually shape-shifting energy. So where Neptune like mimics and does a really good job at it, the chironic energy and Ophiuchus actually can like shapeshift into it, if that makes sense. So that's one aspect of it. So it's related to like shamanistic things and healing, big time healing because of Chiron being one of the rulers. And this is where it can get kind of confusing. So if you were to look at it like on the zodiac wheel, it sits in between Scorpio and Sagittarius. And so when planets are moving through the zodiac wheel and they hit traditionally the 20th degree of Scorpio, how I interpret it is that's the beginning of Ophiuchus. So the degrees, 20 degrees of traditional Scorpio through the first 10 degrees of Sagittarius, so 0 through 9 Sag, that's actually Ophiuchus for me. Now, not every astrologer is going to do that or use that. That's just how I interpret it, and how my guides gave me that information on how it works. So that's just a disclaimer, but anyways, you have to think of it as a portal. And so you almost have to think of like when planets are moving through those degrees, it's actually that energy or that sign sits in actually the middle of the chart in the like the 13th house also, which that's going to look a little bit different for everybody depending on how their houses are made up, but because that fluctuates between each individual, but those degrees don't change for Ophiuchus. So if you think of that energy, even though it's sitting in between Scorpio and Sag, it's actually like in the middle because it's like a portal to source. So that's just how my head sees it, how I visualize it. So hopefully that makes sense. But like with the context of, you know, with the rest of the zodiac, that's where it sits. And it does have, even though it is like, it is complex because it, again, it represents the whole zodiac, all the other signs. Like it can shapeshift into the other zodiacs, basically. But it has a special connection with Scorpio and Sag because that's one aspect of its energy is the death and rebirth process. So it has a special connection to those two signs. So with that being said, like Scorpio's essentially like the caterpillar moving along, and then all of a sudden it realizes, oh shoot, I'm about to shift and change. And so most of the time it's, you know, like a metaphorical death. It's not usually not a literal death, but you know, Scorpio can represent literal death and also like near-death experiences too. And so whether it's literal or metaphorical, that's the first stage. And so it's like when we have to or are forced to accept that something is dying, you know, within us, or something in our life that is no longer serving us is dying. And so it's just that energy of having to accept that. And then you can think of Ophiuchus within this context of the death rebirth cycle, being the metamorphosis stage, the cocoon, the chrysalis stage of the butterfly, and being literally like torn down, liquefied. Not that's what literally happens to the caterpillar, but what I mean is that that's happens to us with this death rebirth cycle. We are basically being alchemically changed on the inside, which then trickles down to the mental, emotional, and physical, you know? And so then after we go through that process and, you know, the caterpillar is shifted and changed into the butterfly, then it emerges. So that's kind of the last part of Ophiuchus is the emerging, because it's you know, it's can be a very painful process. It's less painful if you aren't fighting it. But then once we actually emerge, we get that first taste of like, okay, we are the new. We get the first taste of that new version of us, and then once the butterfly is out flying around, that's now we're into like Sagittarius territory. So it's like going and taking what we have learned and what we've the wisdom and the knowledge that we've gained from that death rebirth cycle, and now we're taking it and sharing that with the world. Kind of that's Sagittarius, that last step in the process. So hopefully that all makes sense. And like I said, there's like so much more that could be said, and but that's just kind of like a little introduction into the energy. And so now I guess we'll go over real quick what I saw in the chart for the season. So a lot of astrologers are talking about the Mars-Uranus opposition we're having right now, so that is definitely a part of it. We're having the new moon on the day that the sun goes into Ophiuchus. So what I was getting is that there is a huge new beginning, and when I say huge, this is massive because it's like the other thing Ophiuchus represents is it's quantum, because again it's source, so it's all your lifetimes, all your past lives, represents all of them. even off planet. So it's very, very karmic in that sense. Um, and so it's like, to compare it, it's not only just a new beginning with like all your past lives here on Earth, but it's a new beginning in in relation to all of your lives, even off planet. So it's really huge. Um, and so Mars is a part of that. So there's a lot of drive with this energy to, especially with the opposition. There's a lot of physical drive to help initiate this new beginning. It is in conjunct the North Node and Chiron. They're conjunct right now. And a conjunction is like an extreme kind of energy, so there has to be a lot of compromise and even sometimes like sacrifice to help balance that energy out. So that's a little tough because in order to fulfill our destiny and help heal, there has to be some sacrifice with this new beginning and vice versa. So that could be a little tricky, but and again, there could be with Uranus involved, there could be a lot of abrupt shifts and changes, like surprises or things that you weren't expecting. But if you just trust the process, you know, trust that the universe has your back and that everything's working out for your highest good, that's the best way to approach it. And there is a trine to Neptune because Neptune is in Pisces right now. It's in its own sign, and Neptune can sometimes work as a benefic and sometimes a malefic. But I think in this instance, I think it's going to help to soften some of the abrasiveness of this energy a little bit, and it's also like our dreams and our imagination is also helping with this process of like this new beginning. So let's just go ahead and go into some of this energy real quick. So I'm using the Mystic Shaman Oracle deck right now. You know what, I think I'm gonna, my phone is getting low on battery, so I think I'm gonna plug it in real quick, so bear with me. My radio's not coming, okay. Sure, it's charging. So let's get into this Mystic Shaman energy and see what's coming up. This new beginning that's going to bring a lot of healing as well, again, across all lifetimes. I mean, this is pretty big. I feel like every time we roll around to Ophiuchus season, there is that opportunity to bring healing across all of our lives, past lives, off-world lives. But with this new moon happening alongside it, it's like, it's really adding that much more energy behind it to help facilitate this healing, this new beginning. On things that you weren't aware of that were maybe interfering or hindering your growth in this healing. You're going to witness miracles is what I'm hearing with this card. A lot of heart chakra healing. There's a lot of green in this card too. Your heart's going to be healed. Again, if you allow this process to happen and take place and don't fight it, you know, just trust the universe through this process, there's going to be a lot of healing. go into the Shadow Tarot. Excuse me, so we can get some more context on this healing. Okay, I got two cards that want to come out. Interesting. This card, it says Litha. This is a fire card. Yes, with the, so there's a rabbit, you have the sunflowers in the background and the sun shining down. I'm just getting like, this healing is going to bring and open up a lot of abundance in your life. So maybe you've been asking for more abundance in your life, and abundance isn't just necessarily monetary things. You know, it can be love, it can be just great relationships in your life, a lot of, you know, loving relationships, peaceful relationships. Can represent, of course, growth on all levels, but it doesn't necessarily have to be money. And this card almost looks like there's like all the different like constellations on it, so I'm getting like, it does say fire, so I feel like I'm getting like the Mars energy, but also just the Ophiuchus energy too. So both the, again, it's just spirits reiterating, we have a lot of physical drive, Mars, that can be channeled into this, or transmuted even through meditation, depending on what you're guided to do. And it's just a very magical, I'm just getting like it's a very magical time. Like I said, it is, for me, Ophiuchus season is when the veil is the most thinnest. I know a lot of people say Halloween, and I think that is a very pertinent and, you know, spiritual night, but for me, the whole Ophiuchus season is the most magical time of the year, and when the veil is the most thinnest, and when, again, we can access spirit and source at any time. We always have that availability, but just it's a lot easier this time of year, because again, the veil is the thinnest to all the dimensions, and we have more direct access to source and the quantum realm, that sort of thing. And also, that woman's pregnant too, so children represent prosperity, abundance, and our blessings. So again, there's that, and I'm also, yeah, I'm kind of getting, I don't read traditional tarot, but I'm getting the Queen and King of Pentacles as well, and the Pentacles represent the material realm, and they're together, and like they're having a child, so I'm just getting, again, like a lot of abundance coming in. It's representing a lot of abundance coming in at this time. If you allow it, and you allow this process of healing. So there could be, maybe you've dealt with a lot of shadow around money and just feeling stable, having that stability. A lot of us volunteered to go into families that dealt with a lot of, you know, lack, like a lack mentality, and we're healing those genetic lines. I know I am, for my family, my line. So that might be the case for you as well. So congrats on doing that work and helping heal basically what your ancestors weren't able to. You're helping them, and I feel like they're coming through and they're reiterating that. Thank you for healing our bloodline, and if you choose to have children, your descendants will inherit that healing and abundance as well. So that's pretty powerful. That's really powerful. And this one is, this deck I'm using next is Heal Yourself. Reading cards. Alrighty. How teachable are you? Interesting. I'm more getting with this card that's for some of you. It looks like, to me, it almost looks like she's waking up for the day. Like, and to me, I feel like this Ophiuchus season, this new moon, for some of you, maybe it's you've just woken up from the matrix, so to speak. And for others, maybe it's a new stage of awakening. You're gaining access to even more of your soul and your higher self, like aligning with your higher self and your soul path, what you came here to do. So that's what I'm kind of getting with this card. Yeah, and let's see. There's a 9, which is like the end of something. So Ophiuchus represents, since it is like the quantum realm, it represents both beginnings and endings. So, and she looks kind of sad. She looks a little sad. So I think, you know, maybe again with some of that, if you remember, I mentioned how Chiron conjunct the North Node is in conjunct this new moon in Ophiuchus. There could be the sacrifice is that you might have to let go of things that are, you know, it's going to be painful. You might have to let go of people, situations, jobs, you know, in your life in order to have this new beginning. But as hard as that can be, again, once you've gone through that chrysalis stage, and sometimes for me, it's felt like you're being burned, like alive, like you're being burned up, like while being alive, but like in a spiritual way on the inside. It can be very, very painful. But once you reach the other side and you emerge from the chrysalis, and you have that first taste of really freedom, because those things were weighing you down. They were no longer serving you, no longer beneficial to your growth. It is so worth it in the end. And I know it's really hard, because there's people that I've had to let go of in my life that I still love, you know, and I wish they could be a part of my life, but you know, sometimes it's just not part of the plan. They were just there to help teach you certain lessons, you know, and they're not necessarily meant to be there as lifetime people. So sometimes that's just the hard, I'd say like a hard fact of life, but also sometimes that's just the hard facts of spirit, you know, what we signed up to do, and we have certain karmic contracts, and once those are fulfilled, then, you know, it's time to move on. And so I get that it's definitely by no means easy, but it's so worth it. And you know, you just have, again, more access to your soul and your higher self, and just you are more authentic. Just that in of itself, you just become a more authentic person. And you know, a lot of times these things, like I said, they can even become toxic. So it's time for them to go, you know. So yeah, I'm being guided to say, if you know, if you are having to let go of people, situations, your life, you can always ask for assistance, always ask for help from the angels, your ancestors, your guides, and they will send help and they will send comfort your way in that moment. So don't forget that. Let's see. I think I'm going to wrap it up here with one last card. So we're at 25 minutes. It's probably already quite a bit to digest. So let's wrap this up. It's the parting message, Spirit, that everyone needs to hear that is tapping into this message. We got two cards. Oh wow. It's kind of interesting because I feel like this kind of represents, like this is the Taurus energy and this is the Scorpio, like Ophiuchus energy axis that we're having, like that opposition right now. So that's interesting. And if you notice, today is the 11/11 portal as well as I'm recording this, and we have 1/1/11. So through this process of healing, it's not only going to help bring stability, help you feel more rooted in who you are, but also, again, that abundance is being reiterated. And we also have butterflies too, so it's going to bring more freedom. You're going to feel more free, and it's going to ignite that inner fire, that passion for life, just to want to keep going and to do what you came here to do. It's going to look different for everybody, but fulfill your North Node and your desires, your sun sign, that's represents your desires, and also just it's going to ignite your creativity as well. It's going to open a lot more creative, you might have creative ideas and projects come in at this time too, ideas for those. So I think I'm going to leave it there, and this is, like, to me, it's a very exciting time. Yes, it can be can be pain involved and a lot of letting go, and again, like death, usually, like I said, it's usually metaphorical, but it's like also an exciting time because, again, once we've done all that, we've gone through the death and the chrysalis stage, and we emerge a whole new self, a whole brand new person, and just somebody who's done it many, many times, because I'm a very Ophiuchus dominant person, so this has happened a lot for me in my life. Like many, many times I've gone through that chrysalis stage, caterpillar chrysalis stage, and emerged, transformed into a new version of myself. It is so worth it. It is so worth it. So just let go of the fear, and just, it's a little cheesy, and it's a little cliche, but it is true. Let go and let God. Just trust Source, trust your team, trust your ancestors to help you through this process, and you'll make it. And you'll be so glad that you pushed through. So happy Ophiuchus season, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to comment and reach out to me. And if this resonated, I would love for you to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and I wish you all well. So take care.